Exactly how bad is the supply situation here at Pembroke?
It really depends. Dr. Swansea deftly works his society contacts for monies, but with the quarantine, well, we're in God's hands.
That's all for now, Nurse Crane, thank you. It's locked.
Not now.
It's locked, all right. Scowl voices in the garden. I should investigate. If they were to find somebody. It's locked. Behavior is similar to the infected William Bishop. Must be the same strain. This sickness moves faster than influenza. This key will surely grant me access to the basement. These scowls feed from corpses and the husks of animals. They're not after blood. Mr. Connor's injuries don't match the report. I'd better look into this. Scowls can be so ferocious. I'm not sure I can defeat them without becoming stronger. To drink blood is so tempting. balls of Mars. Fortifiers. As popular as they are ineffective. But they do contain iron tartrate, and that might prove itself useful. It's locked, all right. Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
You must get a hold of yourself, nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
How long have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
You'd be surprised what dedication can achieve, Nurse Hawkins. In medicine, sometimes we're just a test result away from a miracle.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter, but I'm just too tired to give a pep talk like Nurse Brannigan.
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis? Is it just an act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or not.
Pepper, are you sure you want to leave this hospital?
To become a nurse was a little girl's dream. But in the end, I don't feel that useful. I want more. I want to make things change.
But you're doing something important here. For all the patients who need your help.
We save lives, sure. Each time we send a cured patient home, it's a relief beyond words. But since the epidemic, I feel so powerless.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Not now.
The flower's dying. It needs water. It's locked, all right.
I have wasted too much energy for so little result.
Good evening, sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. War injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they still call me Thomas Elwood.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect. Told you. It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
Soldier, do you need assistance?
I'm fine. Just do something for this pain, will you? That's all I'm asking.
Soldier, do you need assistance?
I'm fine. Just do something for this pain, will you? That's all I'm asking.
Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood. Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Why do you feel responsible for the injury, Thomas? What really happened?
I wasn't disfigured by any German shells. It happened during my leave. It was an accident.
Tell me what really happened then.
I went with a whore in Rouen. Dead drunk I was. The hotel was a shithole. There was a fire that night.
Did you start the fire? Were you trying to avoid going back to the front? That's not uncommon, you know.
No. It's just that I was asleep when the flames reached the room. The girl was long gone. Bitch never woke me up. Left me to burn.
Why lie about it?
Come on. It's one thing to come back disfigured by the Germans, and it's another to get injured in an accident that could have happened to anybody.
Reconstructive surgery has been very successful for some soldiers.
I don't want to wear a bloody mask for the rest of my life. I'd rather stay here and just be forgotten.
Where were you stationed, sir? Did you serve for long?
I really don't want to talk about all this shit.
No offense. I was pushing too much. I served in France myself. I just wanted to know what happened to you.
You were an officer, weren't you? Then I doubt we fought the same war, sir. No offense.
How close are you to Miss Horcroft? Are you aware that she thinks she is a vampire?
To wait for her next nibble is the best reason to stay here. Every time she approaches my bed, she treats me like something tasty. A normal person.
Aren't you afraid? She may hurt you if the game goes too far.
She's quite harmless, I can assure you. Her head's broken inside is all. While I'm busted on the outside. But she's still beautiful. Living proof that there's hope for me.
You do realize she's mentally disturbed. It's called the Cotard syndrome. She truly believes she's a vampire.
In her madness, she never refers to my scars. And frankly, if I could, I'd join her world. It seems much more fun than the real one.
So do you let her bite you? You know that's not sanitary.
And why not? She's only supping a few drops of my blood. And the pain, it's real for once.
She could decide to bite less willing patience.
Then it's another good reason for me to stay here, Doctor.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Fear and disgust on every street corner. The daily routine.
Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Tell me, Thelma, why do you feel so attached to Mr. Elwood? Why him?
I'm not sure, Doctor. I think we have a bond of some sort. We've both suffered so much. He's the only mortal I find interesting.
Do you plan to make him a vampire too?
Of course not. How could I inflict my curse on anybody else? I'm not that cruel, Doctor.
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically involved?
No. No, Thomas is a delicate soul. Even though he disguises it. But I am not the woman he needs. No, for I am a vampire, Doctor.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
Time has lost its effect on me, but the suffering continues.
Fear and disgust on every corner. The daily routine.
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sir, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place and he refused to let me go.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the dockers' trade union. The Wet Boot Boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Booth Digby.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender from the Turtle? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks. And I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith willing to preach the good word.
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really, but I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke? Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel empty.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest, and then I can go back to the people who need me.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
See you again.
Yes, Doctor?
That's all for now, Nurse Crane. Thank you. Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins. Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
Do you need my medical attention, dear colleague?
You don't have to worry about me, Dr. Reed. I am here to assist you, not to be a burden.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior, a man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Doctor.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No.
Really? Why are you here, then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'll let you get some rest, then.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed? Yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swansey's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
Do you need my assistance?
Not at all. I'm sure that you are used to gaining people's trust with your impressive skills. Well, it will not be the case with me.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
I really hope you're right about this, Dr. Ackroyd. I'm trusting your judgment on this.
I'm not the kind of man who runs away from his responsibilities, Dr. Reed. There is no need for you to be looking over my shoulder.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansey, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansey has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
You are going to change your tone with me, my dear colleague, and very quickly.
I don't think so. Perhaps you think yourself protected by Dr. Swansey, but I am still a free man, and I will speak to you the way I want.
I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
Knowledge has always been and will remain our main weapon, and it has always come at a price. And personal initiative.
It is not a question of initiative, it is a question of integrity. These men and women have put their faith in us, Dr. Reed.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd. Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
I will not let you down, my boy.
Thelma Howcroft said she was being watched by vampire hunters. Where are they hiding? I should investigate. It's locked. It's locked, all right. Sodium hypochlorite. Dangerous to administer, but efficient in the proper dosage.
Finally, you've returned, Doctor. Did you find anything of value?
Yes, nurse.
You've worked your first miracle, Doctor. Now, this patient here needs immediate treatment.
Duty calls. When the storm has passed, I'll show you how to mix the remedy yourself with the same basic ingredients.
Many thanks, Doctor. When you've finished, you ought to report to Dr. Swansea in his office. He's been looking for you. Seemed pressing.
I will not let you down, my boy.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
Do you need any help?
Thank you, Dr. Reed, but you've done enough already. The rest is up to me now.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
So many deaths. For me. That's still uncomfortable. How can we be sure we're making a difference?
Please, Jonathan, come in. Fascinating, is it not? In the last decade, so many mysteries have been brought to light with our microscopes. The human body, biology's penultimate frontier. The more we explore its boundaries, the less we're able to trace a clear line between life and death. You, my friend, have a foot in both countries. The view must be vertiginous.
It's at least as vertiginous as chatting about vampires with you, I would say.
This must be all so new to you. This area of town, the hospital, a brand new life. How stimulating it must be.
I wish I could share your enthusiasm, Dr. Swansea. But my condition defies scientific categorization. Undead? Unalive? Immortality defies logic.
I cannot express my thrill at this serendipitous turn of events. The world's most eminent specialist in blood transfusions, a vampire. One might say a gift from heaven.
There is an absurd poetry to my situation. Physician, heal thyself.
Forgive me. I've been an admirer of your work for a long time, and now you are so much more than a brilliant physician. And please, call me Edgar.
There is no need to apologize, Edgar. You offered me sanctuary when I had none.
Very well. I have a task for you, Jonathan. Something that will require all your newfound skills.
Please, go on.
The Pembroke only survives through the generosity of our benefactors. Unfortunately, our main donor has found herself in a bit of a bind. Now, if you could help her out...
A spokesman or politician is what you need. That's not my calling. And until I come to understand what has happened to me, I require discretion.
Discretion is in order, Jonathan. Lady Ashbury has recently received rather indelicate correspondence that, if revealed, would jeopardize her position.
And you would like me to eradicate this threat?
By the stole, of course not. I would just like you to pay her a visit. Her ladyship is certainly near the tents outside, tending the sick. You can't miss her. Look for someone impossibly delicate.
Accepted. I'll see what kind of trouble Lady Ashbury is in.